Hello, my name is Atiba Jefferson. I'm a skateboard photographer and a Canon Explorer of Light. I'm going to talk to you about shooting skateboarding with flash photography using the Canon EL-1 and the Canon R5. So I started skateboarding when I was 13. Skateboarding and magazines go hand in hand. I had my wall covered with Thrasher magazine pages since I started, which always had photography being something that went so hand in hand with skateboarding. And it was something that I didn't know probably then was planting a seed for my future career later in life. I picked up a camera in high school and instantly fell in love. I fell in love in the darkroom seeing the prints being made. And I fell in love with it once I was in a darkroom printing and seeing black and white prints being made. I never thought I would have a career as a photographer. It was just always a passion. And with skateboarding, it's kind of the same thing. It's learning the tricks. It's like you learn how to ollie is the same as, hey, how do I learn how to focus the camera? How do I learn how to load film? How do I learn how to expose it? There's so many different tricks in photography that are similar to the tricks in skateboarding. I say it's really very similar to that side of the brain of, photography is about failing. And skateboarding is about failing. I don't consider it failure if you learn from it, right? So it's a lesson. And in photography, that's what I always did. If I went out one day and tried a trick for multiple hours, that was the same mentality I took with, hey, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna shoot these photos, I'm gonna experiment, and I'm gonna see what happens. I've taken a lot of bad photos, but taking those bad photos led me to taking better photos. So, when I was young, I kind of knew, hey, I wasn't going to be that good of a skater. I decided to pick up a camera, and that's where it all started. High school, I was learning my basics, black and white film, went into print film, color print film, and then it went to slide film. And from there, you learn about flash photography. And I've seen the evolution of flash photography and skateboarding over 25 years. And going from syncing at 250 to now being able to sync at any speed is amazing. With the Canon R5, it's such a game changer because in flash photography, it's all about freezing that moment. And the best way to freeze a moment is with flash photography. Being able to sync flash and daylight at any speed is a game changer. I have learned so many different things about light and about flash photography, strobe photography, from shooting skating. So when I do commercial jobs in the studio, it's really easy for me to pre-visualize how to light things because of skateboard photography. Now with skateboard photography, you never know what you're gonna get. You never know what the situation's gonna be. You have to be ready for all situations. So what I have found is that mentality of not knowing where the sunlight is, not knowing when you're going to get to the skate spot, not knowing if there's going to be a car in the way, not knowing if there's going to be a train in the way. You have to be ready for all these different obstacles to get your photo. And that's what actually makes the studio so amazing and so easy because, when you're in the studio, there isn't going to be a car in the way. There isn't going to be a cloud that covers, there isn't going to be all those things there isn't going to be all those variables you have to deal with when shooting skateboard photography. But there's a lot of basics to skate photography. The first thing is you want to know your timing. me being a skater, it really helps because I get to know when to take that picture. Your focus. You want to know how to focus and compose the photo because you want to show where they're going from and where they're going to. That's a big thing. Composition in skateboard photography is huge. And then you want to know your lighting. Lighting is a big thing because you want to learn how to freeze action. And the rule, there are some basic rules with freezing action. A lot of people will say 1/500th will freeze action. I have really found 1/2000th really freezes action. And then you add flash to it, it's going to be razor sharp. And that's what I really love about the Canon R5 and the EL-1 and the way they speak together. It really kind of takes the stress of flash duration out because I find being able to shoot it 1/2000th, everything's going to be sharp. I'm never really reliant on, oh, there's going to be some blur because I slowed down on my shutter speed. You know, this flash is a game changer because it completely has so many capabilities of freezing action. And I really love the battery. The battery is amazing. To have an actual battery that I can charge instead of always going through AA's, game changer. So I really love the features of the EL-1. I also love the TTL. The TTL I use more with portraits, but the TTL is amazing on the EL-1. In the skate photography side, I really set it to manual because I want the same lighting. I pick a spot when I shoot skateboard photos. I sit in that spot. I set the flashes, and I just keep taking pictures until they make it. That's the one thing with skateboard photography that is good is a lot of times it won't happen first try. So you'll hopefully be able to see a frame to know if that's exactly the way you want it, if they get it, you know. So with me, I set my flashes up, you know, light stands and tripods are what you need because you want to have your light source off the ground a little bit because the skater's off the ground. So you want to be able to have that light source so you can shoot at them and freeze them. I really love that look. I think there's many different ways to light something, but to be able to trap and fill in one side, fill in the other, create shadows is really fun. I have 4 EL-1s that I use so I can put all those flashes in different situations. A lot of that knowledge came too from shooting basketball. I always think that's something that's good with creatives is to look at one world and bring it to another. So what I learned from basketball, I brought into skating, and what I learned from skating, I brought into basketball. And it gave me a different look in both worlds. And arena lighting really gave me a lot of knowledge over strobe and flash photography. I was saying earlier how the knowledge from shooting skateboarding in the studio changed my strobe photography. Also, what I learned in the studio, I bring to street skateboarding. So it's, you know, one of the best things about photography, it's an endless learning cycle. And it's an endless world of, you know, creating and focusing on light. Photography wouldn't happen without light. So having a flash lets you have your own light and let you be in control of your own light. I love available light photography. I love walking outside and seeing where shadows fall and where light is. But it's not always the exact light that I want. So when using flash photography, it lets me create the exact light that I want. So I want to take y'all with me to go skating with my friend Jake and go through a range of different lighting situations, battling the sun and seeing the sun go to bed and seeing how flash photography is used throughout those different times. So we are at Marsh Skate Park, aka Frogtown, and we are gonna shoot a frontside ollie with Jake Anderson on the quarter pipe. So as you'll see in shooting skateboarding, you don't tech scout. You never really know what the light's gonna be like. So we kind of just have to adjust with that. My favorite thing is EL-1 flashes because I know we can battle the sun. So what I really like to do is gang up 3 of them on a stand. 2 to 3, because I know then we get enough wattage to beat the sun. I like these multiple hot shoe mounts so I can get 3 at the same angle. That keeps like your shadows down, and that just keeps your overall direction of light going exactly where you want it. So I use the ST E3 remote to send my signal. And what I do, even though the TTL with the EL-1 is amazing, what I do is set this in manual mode. And what I do to get the most light, I just go full power. The good thing about the EL-1s is the battery life is really long compared to AA's. So it has a rechargeable battery, so that enables you to just have a lot of light. For this, we're using my favorite, the R5. And with this, I use the 15mm fisheye. I've had this lens for, geez, probably like at least 18 years. And I really like it. I use it in manual. I actually set the focus when I shoot fisheye. So what I'm gonna do here is I actually have 4 EL-1s. I'm gonna use 3 on this stand, and then I'm gonna use 1 handheld. And you'll see because I don't have a lot of room. So the tough thing in skating is you never know where you're gonna set your lights up at. As you can see here, I'm on a slanted quarter pipe. Not my favorite thing. So I could normally use a tripod, but this actually works just fine. Besides the gang, I put Velcro on them. Power and numbers. So if you see, we got 4. So we're gonna do one with just 1 light source. So we're really close to here and we don't have much room. But we are battling the sun. So I'm claiming I like to shoot at 2,000th of a second, and that's what's great about these is I get high speed sync. So we're gonna shoot at 2,000. I claim an f8 at 400th of an ISO, and I picked up 400 because this Canon chip is so good, it really isn't showing much grain. So what I like about this is that the park is lit up by the sun, so I don't have to worry about adding more flash in other areas besides the front of Jake. You ready? Frontside ollie?
Air or
Let's go ollie. I like the one I saw, yeah. Look at the pop-out screen. Wow. That was plenty high. He's going so high, I'm actually gonna raise these up. Couple more, that's perfect. You'll see in this shot, the sun is behind us. We're really stopping down the available light. Probably 3 stops more, and that's what causes the rich blue sky. So I'm gonna do one with a little fill flash handheld. And that's what's really cool about the ST E3 is that I don't have a long cord to get in the way. So I can go handheld with a flash, give them a little directional fill. What I really like to do, because I have to keep my pack really mobile, because we're always on the go, I'm gonna add another flash to light up the backside. So I always roll the tripod on a light stand. Kind of my go-to. And in doing this, it's kind of a trap lighting, right? We're gonna get a flash on both sides of him. What I'm gonna do is put the flash right here and be on this side of it so that I don't shadow. See how close the skateboard can get. So now I'm going to be dangerously close. You always want to be quick on your toes because that will come straight at you. Yes, I learned being quick on your reflexes the hard way because I've been hit plenty of times. So we're breaking it down. That was Frogtown Park. How to shoot during the bright sunny day. We used 4 flashes, 4 EL-1s is what we used for this to override the sun. And we will see, we used multiple different stands so we could trap our subject and light both sides of them. We're gonna keep it moving with Jake because we really want to show the use of all these flashes and these great cameras in one day. So we're coming here to Hollenbach Park and we're gonna shoot a hand round. The lighting's a little tricky, but that's okay because we are going to fill in the bottom. It's all good. So we're gonna do 2 flashes on the top. That's why we use a tripod, so we will be able to put it on the stairs. So I don't want the flash shadow on the rail. Don't mind it on the stairs, but you're good. This thing can get taken out. Hopefully it doesn't. Let's really hope that flash doesn't get smoked. Once again, I didn't know what the light was going to be like. So I'm thinking we'll be at 2,000th of a shutter.
You ready, mate?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm pointing flash right at this to fill in. Flash on this side. Put the flash on that side so I don't cause a shadow from the flash. A couple more. What's up, dude?
How you doing? My bad.
Good, bro. How are you?
Yeah, it's the love line.
Yeah, you're good. I'm gonna give another angle long lens. What I really love about this Velcro trick is one is going to light the end of that rail, and one is going to be on the subject of the skater. And that is to fill in the end of the handrail where it's fallen into shadow, and then fill Jacob. In skating, you have to be quick because the skating's gonna happen quick, and you gotta be kind of ready to move on any lighting situation. So as you see here, the shadow keeps moving. So without having like a lighting team and an assistant, I have to just deal with what I'm dealt with. And being able to have 4 flashes really enables me to have all kinds of options. So with the handrail, you want to show all the stairs, but I like this angle to get that mountain sky. I mean, you get the mountain skyline. So this light is just lighting a little bit back of his backside. Those two are lighting his front. Give just a little fill to pop out the back of that rail. Yeah, let me get a fisheye and we're good to go. Or fisheye frontside board slide. See the bend of the rail. We have this light back here to light up his backside. You have the other ones lighting up and battling the sun because of that shadow. You have the 2 fill down there. This one key on subject. This one to light up the backside of his back and this rail. Cool. I'm gonna try and hit a downtown spot. So all that was 2005-6 at 250 because we still had a good amount of available light that was lighting the front of him. So this time, instead of battling the sun, we were working with the sun. Wow, this is skateboarding. This train is gonna stop here and kill my view of downtown. We timed this whole day for sunset. But let's just see what happens. Never panic. It's the first rule of skate photography. Kind of a rule of life. Kind of feels really good to be outside of the skate park. It's kind of hectic. So here, we're gonna do the classic man-made flag and hide this flash right behind this tree. Always check your aim. Always check your flash aim. Make sure it's hitting your subject directly. Okay, looks like we're shooting a photo with a really cool train. Not exactly what I was going for, but you know, we'll hang out, we'll see how late it gets. So this is what's always tricky, because I want to shoot horizontally. Hey, you see there's folding signs if you rather them. Kind of rather a folding sign. Because it's more white. Someone else's trash. It's our train. Train's moving. Uh-oh. Let's get a train photo while we can. Okay, I'm guessing my exposure, 5.6, 2000. Okay. Yep, ready when you are. Nice, back 180, okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna go super slow shutter and do some blur stuff. Well, we're trying to get the sunset and the city. Go for it. Hey, try and get back there so then we have the end of the train. Try and time it so the end of the train, so get back there.
Okay,
Yep. The train is sitting perfectly for us. Like, it's actually insane. Sometimes it just works out. So right there. And we are at 800th of a second. We're getting the sunset. It's really a cool frame because actually I'm gonna switch lenses. So if you see, we have to trap on what each side of the flash is. And like you also see is like when you're this wide, it's hard to find a place to put the flashes. All right, give me one more, Jake. Yep. Here, come down here real quick. And our flashes, the crazy thing, all our flashes, all this flashing, and they're only, most of them are all full. 2 of them are on just a sliver down. So that just goes to show how good these flashes are. So now we're breaking down. So you saw bright sunlight, sunset, and now all we need is something at night. And I want to do a direct flash on camera wall ride, because I think that'll be cool. I'll see all different ways to shoot skateboarding with the R5 and the EL-1. We are going to do flash on camera. We're going to show you not everything needs to be multiple flashes. This is the use of one flash. Yeah, that's perfect. So give me a wall ride right there. And what I really love about this camera is we're throwing a light on them. So this has never been something we've ever been able to do in skating. Have a model. Yep, so the skater can see. Straight. Do I pop off and... Let me look at this real quick. I'm just seeing if I can shoot a cool photo here and then be done, which I can do. Hey, I'm gonna set up for one more. Give me like 3 minutes. We are hurrying up because we are double parked in downtown LA by a bus station. We're gonna get an awesome wall ride with a long neck exposure. So we're gonna throw the camera on tripod and have some fun. So we're gonna put one flash in the front and then one to the side. Super basic, 2 light setup. Maybe a third if you feel like it. Okay, so this is gonna be tricky. So I'm gonna want camera right here. All right, Jake. Oh. for so many days. Hey Jake, can you throw on that white shirt for one? That was hectic. And that's it. That's our full day of shooting with the Canon R5 and the Canon EL-1, all the different situations and scenarios of skateboard flash photography. Let's look at our photos. So we're back in my office, and let's look at what we captured for the day, and let's also talk about it. So we started at the Frogtown Park, and we got this, Jake's frontside ollie. So if you look at it, it's 200 ISO. We are at 2,000th of a second at f8.0. And the reason why I'm shooting so fast is I really find that even with the high speed sync and everything kind of going on, 2,000 of a second is a really good speed to be at to freeze action during the day. So if you look right here, the sun. So in this instance, we're kind of working with the sun, but battling the sun at the same time. So being able to shoot at f8 is really nice because you get the dark sky. And that's what happens when we use 4 EL1s all together. I love, as a skate photographer, where they're coming from and going to is always a big key in skate photography. So for this, you know, you want to show the coping because you don't want to just show him flying through the sky. So you get a reference of how high in the air he is actually, you know. I went really one directional on this one. I ganged it all up knowing that working with the sun, we would get that rim light on his face since it was right there. And we were stopped down to f8 so that when the sun was shooting into the lens, the flare to me was kind of cool. So yeah, that's, you know, you have the ambient reading. So we're about 1.5 stops underexposed on our background, which is nice because it lets the skater really pop. So using the flashes during the day and stopping down against the available light really lets the skater pop. So here we have Jake doing the backsmith, and we're still falling in the same world of 2000 at f8. This time ISO at 320 because we weren't able to get our flashes as close. What I love about the R5 is there's not a lot of noise and grain at 400 ISO. So I'm able to kind of balance and go through what I want with that ISO. And with this trick, like most skateboarding tricks, there's a peak to it. So this is the peak timing. So in skateboard photography, timing is everything. And, you know, being able to be a skater does help. It's not required, but, you know, myself knowing what this trick is helps me know when to shoot it. So with this trick, I did my flashes a little bit different. I did a majority of my light to my left and then a single flash on my right. And this is to give him a little bit of kick and a little bit of fill on my right side and a ton from my front. Knowing the sun is here on my left side, I'm working with the sun. I put those flashes in the same direction of the sun to work with the sun. So when shooting during the day with flash, you always want to consider where the sun is out. In skateboarding, the tricky thing is there's only so many angles to shoot a trick right. Being that the person is right or left foot forward makes them either their front is to you or the back is to you. So depending on what the trick is, you really want to be able to see their face and this side of the board. On this one, I did 2 angles. So I also did him coming directly at camera, which I also think is a really great angle for this trick. And in skateboarding, it gets dangerous being that close to the action, but with the 15mm fisheye, which is one of my favorite lenses for shooting skateboarding, you really get that action right up in your face. So, you know, this, you'll see I was super duper close, which you want to be really aware of where you're at with your camera. Also, the flip out screen is amazing on the R5 because I'm able to look down at my screen and know where I am and where the skateboard might be flying. So the thing is, skaters don't make it every try. So you want to be prepared if you're really close for that board to be coming flying right at you. Throughout this day, you'll see the progression of the light. And I wanted to shoot during a full day with one skater so you see the progression of the light and how we use the flash in different scenarios. Because with shooting skateboarding, you never know what you're going to get, right? You never know what the light is going to be like, what time you get there. Skateboarding is just a different way of photography. It's not like commercial photography where you have a pre-light, a tech scout. No, you just going skating with your friends and hopefully you're getting the best skating you can. So this I wanted to show was a handrail. I love fisheye from below, but what you will see here with this trick, there's multiple ways of shooting it. There's multiple angles. There is no wrong angle. There's no right angle. I believe the beauty of photography is everybody's individual perspective. With this, I call this click it to huge when shooting skateboarding. You get down at the bottom of the stairs, you're at the point where the skater is so high above you, it's hard not to look big. So with this, you know, we did a gang of flashes. Everything was to my right because I had a flash right next to me and then one at the top of the stairs. We had a good amount of sunlight, so we were able to know that the other side is filled. But with this, I was shaping a little bit more light so you get really up into his face and fill it in. So with that, that's to me the standard angle for a fisheye handrail trick. Next, we have the long lens, which I think also creative-wise, this is really cool because I was playing with the palm trees in the background, and what I actually did on this one versus this, which is shot at 400 ISO f8 at 2000, all our flashes still being at full power. This is all our flashes still at full power. I used my 70-200. I'm at 95 millimeter. I'm at ISO 100, and I opened up to f2.8. And what's amazing about the Canon is when I shoot with these wide open apertures, I actually use autofocus to track them. But one big thing in skating that you can do, one cheat, is you can pre-focus because they usually hit the same spot and where that peak action is happens. When shooting a handrail, I like to be towards the top, so it really shows and adds drama to how much further he has. But if you notice, we have an amazing depth of field fall off by being at 2.8. So I really love the fact that with this, it gives a little bit more focus again on him being the primary focus because he's what's sharp and everything else falls off. I really love the RF lenses and this 70-200 is amazing. So with this next one, I went back up, but not as much. I went to 5.6, I went to 250 ISO, and I went still at 1/2000. And this, I really like the reverse angle because this trick still shows him, it still shows the handrail, but I love that you can see this mountain view. And I used this lens, which I really love. I've really fallen in love with the 2870 2.0. I think this lens is amazing. It's so sharp and it's just really versatile. If I only could have one lens, it would be this. But the two lenses that I primarily use are these two lenses because it really covers me from 28 to 200. I also obviously love my fisheye, but you know, it's always nice to have an arrangement of stuff in your bag. But when you have those two lenses, you have so many different lenses in one. So right here is a use of the fisheye. And what I did when I switched the angle to here, I actually added one of my 4 flashes back here to give a fill on the edge of this handrail and also on his back. So this is actually, whereas normally I do trap lighting with 2 flashes, or as I should say, 2 sets of flashes, since I've been ganging the EL-1s, you know, sometimes I take one off and add it to do a little bit of kick. So it's really nice, whereas opposed to a lot of my photography in the past, I just used 2 stronger light sources. It's amazing to be able to have these 4 and kind of tetris them around and just get creative of where I put them. Using the STE3 remote is amazing. I mean, the fact that you can control your power ratio, your channels, everything on top of your camera and never having to walk over to your flashes is an amazing feature. Especially when shooting skating, when it's kind of hectic, you don't want to disturb the skater, you want to just kind of stay in your place. This allows you to control those flashes when they're, you know, 10, 15, 20 feet away. So it's, you know, one of the most important things of having those flashes is the Speedlite transmitter. This image, I really just love that this is a different angle. You know, in skating, there's so many different things. There's no wrong, there's no right. And this is fisheye at the top, which is actually one of my favorite angles for shooting a frontside board slide. So right here, this is really fun. So as you see throughout the day, the light is changing, but we're controlling the light. And that's what's really a skill that I've learned from shooting skating for so many years, is how to control the light in these different situations. And in this one, I went fisheye because I wanted these trees to streak. So I'm under a tree and I slow down the shutter to 1/30th of a second. And I'm at f9, 100 ISO. My flashes are at 1/4 power. So now you're seeing us go down in our flash power because full power just would have been too much. And it's just amazing because all you do is you just have your camera a little to the side, and as you're turning it, you shoot it. So you go, and you know, there's so many different ways to work with slow shutter in flash photography. A lot of times you'll be on a tripod to freeze everything, but you'll find this trick under the trees just adds this really cool swirl effect. And you can do it at high noon. Right now, it's really late in the day. It's probably 7:45. You'll see we're gonna move on to the next trick. And this is literally maybe 10 minutes later, but it's the same type of day, and you get a whole different look. And with this one, we went back to 400, 5.6. I did still full power, but I did 1/800th of a second. And that was so I could open up just a little bit so we could see this train, but yet at the same time, stay dark enough that we get this dark orangish sky in the background. So this is a typical example of a high-speed sync at sunset. And it just really draws everything to dark. I mean, you know, if I didn't open up the shadows, you know, this almost could be at night. So, you know, it's amazing to have these amazing raw files coming from the R5 because the latitude of exposure is, there's so much room with the latitude of exposure. You can open up the shadows, open up the exposure. But I really like this where it is because, you know, right here, it gives it that look of the sun going down. So, you know, I did a thing where I hid a flash behind the tree. You know, in skateboard photography, the tough thing is like, you have to adjust with the things that are at the spot. Whether it's the angle, whether it's a tree that's in your way. And then I actually had to hide another one on tripod down here. I really love having a light stand and a tripod because an average height that I find is really good is to try and have your light source around like 4.5, 5 feet high in shooting skating because then it falls off nice and even. When it's too low, it just is really hard. But you will see there are moments where I use there are moments where I use a floor tripod to get low and shoot up. So, you know, don't ever feel like there's one way to this. There's so many different ways. But I also like to have a tripod because I was able to put this next to the hill and adjust the leg so it won't blow over. That's the bummer about this, is when flashes get hit and knocked over, it costs money. So it's always nice and smart to invest in a good light stand or tripod to save yourself that money when someone hits it with their skateboard. I always say when shooting skateboarding, just pop off a portrait. You're already lit, you know, it's already there. Just pop one off because so many times we're so focused about the skating that we really should just capture that moment. So right here, you just go stand there, pop it off because you're always so lit. When shooting flash with skating, you start realizing how much you light things. And, you know, I do a lot of stuff with available light, don't get me wrong, but you will see if you want to light something perfect, you got to take the light into control. You got to be the sun. So here, that's what I'm doing. I'm making my own light when the sunlight's going away. Okay, so for this one, you will see, when you see, I use just one flash on camera. Now, normally that isn't the way you shoot skate photography because the dynamic of lighting is really flat. But this was something I wanted to show because I really love flash on camera against a flat wall. Like I shoot a lot of portraits this way and I think it's really cool and it really works to me with this photo because the wall just keeps the light bouncing back, keeps the shadows flat, it looks really full and filled. So like for me, it's just fun to get creative when you know, hey, I only have one flash. Just because you only have one doesn't mean you're not able to get some dynamic, cool skate photography out there. Now, is this all I would use? No, but it is fun to get creative and different like that. So you'll see from this angle with one flash to this angle with the four. And now on this one, this is what I love doing in a really long exposure. But when you do this really long exposure, you're gonna wanna have your camera on tripod. So, you know, you'll see, this is a fun thing, is you'll see the ghosting through his board and shoes because of the long exposure. So I actually what I do is I actually trigger the flash first and then let the camera drag out after, because what I really find is it's cool because you hit him and then there's a trail, a ghosting trail of him going past. So in night photography, it gets really different because this, I actually brought my flashes down to 1/8 and we shot it at 200 ISO at f8 at 4.0. I really like to stop down a lot in these because you get that sparkle around your lights. You know, everything gets that much more dynamic. But you will see with night photography and skateboarding, it's a big thing with us doing this long exposure because it just opens up your whole scenery. You know, you can't tell, you know, is it at night, you know, or not? And using that blend of super long exposure mixed with your flash is the way you're able to accomplish this. Timing is everything in skateboarding. This is a frontside ollie. So in this trick, there actually is a peak moment where you want to capture. So he goes up, he's, you know, it's almost like that's the peak, and then he comes down. It's like a slam dunk where the ball is here and then goes through the rim. So for me, this is where I find I like to shoot a photo when shooting a frontside ollie in a quarter pipe. It's the highest point he's at. That peak point, to me, a lot of times is the moment to capture it. There could be a cool moment if he points it down a little bit, which also works. And that's like a slam dunk, right? Like you want them as high with the ball above the rim as they possibly are. But sometimes it's cool to see the ball in the rim and them grabbing it. And that's the same with the frontside ollie. But for this instance, I really tried to also get so low that he is in the sky, but not too low that the skateboard is covering his face, because I think it's really great to see the face. This backsmith, you know, to me, this is a really stylish trick, but it's a grind trick, so it's different than you going up in the air and having that peak stall. So the peak about this trick, it's right when he's about to be at the top of the rail, just right there, because you want that front nose dipped down. So with this trick, once again, that's the timing, that's everything. And there's different angles you can shoot this trick from, but when shooting skate photos, when you can shoot directly from the side of a rail or a ledge, it really makes it look the longest it can look. Whereas going to the front of it, it doesn't look as long, but you get that action coming at you. So it's a little more impactful with the action coming straight into your lens. So it just depends on what you're feeling. You know, there is no right or wrong with skate photography, the angles and what you choose to use. This front board, he's actually pretty small in this. But the reason why the handrail looks so big is because we choose to use a fisheye at the lowest point where the rail is high. Not necessarily can you really see his face compared to, you know, when we use long lens, but the rail doesn't look as big. And this angle, you really get to see down the rail, which is a different perspective where you're used to looking up at it. And this is the same with the fisheye, but now the difference between this and what I really like is that his body and face are actually prominent in the frame. I really love the fisheye because the fisheye doesn't distort too much around the skater, but it distorts around everything else, making everything really big. But it also tells the whole story. That's why we really love fisheye, is because you can see the whole spot in one frame, but it's not where the skater is super small. Timing is everything. This ollie, that's the peak time. When shooting someone ollieing over something, it's all about being at the height, but you want to be able to have that wheel, the back wheel, pretty close to clearing the obstacle they're going. So then you know they cleared it. If it's too far behind, it looks like they might have hung up and not made it. So that's the thing. A skater will see a picture and know if the skater made it or not. A true skater knows when they see a skate photo that the skater landed and rode away. And that's the essence of skate photography. The code is you don't really run a photo unless the skater made it. And that's a cool thing that I think about skating is there's this honor to it. And the honor is for you to actually make that trick. This is a different perspective. You know, I chose to shoot this perspective because he's doing a trick that he's facing me, this backside 180, but I get to see the city and that train. So it's nice to be able to work with tricks that you're able to shoot in the same direction you actually intended to get the background. Because a lot of times you'll see a background that's great, but if the skater is a certain footed, you're not gonna get exactly what you want for a background, but you might get the exact side of the skater you wanna get. You know, you'll see that I used a really low tripod, and using this fisheye is amazing to get as low as you can for certain tricks. This really shows, I mean, he could be 5 feet high. He could be 2 feet high. It's hard to tell, and that's what's amazing about fisheyes. They are able to manipulate what you think is reality. So I love using that little tripod and being able to have this long exposure and be super low to the ground to, you know, make this thing look big. That's the thing with skate photography. You really want to make the skater look as big as they can be. You want the skater to look as great as they can be. That's the job as a skate photographer. You want them to look the best they can be.